Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lizzie, and for today's video, we are going to be talking about Subservience. So this is a film that came out in 2024. It is available to watch through Netflix. That is where I watched it, and it stars Megan Fox, who plays an AI robot named Alice, who is brought in to a family to help after the mother is diagnosed with a heart condition and is hospitalized. The father is struggling to take care of both their two very young children, the house, and work at the same time, and that is why she is brought in. And just like you kind of expect with a hot AI robot movie, things get a little crazy. So as I've previously mentioned in some of my reviews, I like to go on Letterboxd, kind of see what people are saying in their reviews about a film before I sit down to do my own, just, get some other input, see what other people are saying. A lot of people on there were calling it like a grown-up version of Megan, comparing it to Megan, which I definitely understand, kind of ironic in the fact that Megan Fox plays Alice. I saw someone even kind of make that joke on Letterboxd, so I can definitely see that it does kind of feel that way. We do have this character of Alice who kind of goes awry. It is hard to view this film through the lens of someone that has seen a film like Companion. You have two films where both AI women start out being designed for men, but for different reasons and both taking very different paths. You have Iris, who is designed for the sexual, physical, and emotional pleasure of her male partner, and then you have Alice, who is there to be more physical in the sense of helping take care of the household and making the man's life easier in that sense. And in Companion, Iris becomes self-aware and attempts to protect herself from the man, where in Subservient, Alice becomes self-aware to what she believes is protect the man in this film. And I think even the names of these films say a lot. Iris is referred to as her counterpart's companion. It's more, like I said, an emotional and physical connection, where Subservient, Alice that's what she's meant to be. She's meant to be subservient to her male counterpart. And looking into these films, most films are directed by men. Something that I did find interesting is the fact that Subservient is co-written by a woman, so I found that fact to be interesting, just because I feel like anytime, and I've addressed it before in previous reviews, that anytime you have a film that is dealing with potential struggles of like a female character, even if they're AI in this case, there are times where you can very much tell whether or not a film is written from the male perspective versus a female perspective. So I do think it's very interesting that Companion is a film that is both written and directed by a man, and Subservient has a female writer on it. And I say that because the Alice character is portrayed more of a villain in this film, which again I think is why a lot of people compared her to Megan. She is an AI that becomes, like I said, self-aware, but for all the wrong reasons. You could argue that she is used. At one point in the film, Nick, who is the male counterpart, the husband in this situation, does tell her to reboot herself so that they can watch Casablanca together, because she's never seen it. She knows about it, but he wants her to watch it without any fact about the film to get like a real view of it, which I feel is like such a film bro move. Like, you're sitting there and you're just like, okay dude, like, she's an AI, of course. Like, he's upset with her because she has never sat and watched the film and had an emotional connection to it, but she's a robot. And she even tells him kind of multiple times throughout this film that she doesn't feel emotion, she doesn't have things tied to it. So when he forces her to reboot herself, she is able to, in that process, eliminate some of the restrictions that she has on herself, which I think is very interesting. And that's not something you find out till kind of later on in the film, as to why she's able to kind of do some of the things that she does and start to feel the way that she does and behave the way that she does. And since doing that, because she is so dedicated, Nick is the primary user, as they refer to it, for her. He is the only one that can control her, tell her what to do, so he is her main focus. She becomes obsessed with him. She becomes obsessed with pleasing him any way she can, so to speak, since his wife is in the hospital. And because of that, she then becomes emotionally attached, which I think, you know, again, it's really kind of, I think, a stereotype that is applied onto women, that, like, we can't enjoy a sexual act without emotion tied to it, which is not true for every woman. Plenty of women just like sex for the sense of sex. So that's like something else that is just like applied onto this film. I mean, it is a bit of like a Fatal Attraction, or if you've ever seen the movie Obsessed with Beyonce in it, it is a bit of like an AI robot version of that, where you have this woman, even though she's a robot, or AI, who becomes very like obsessed and attached to this male character after they, you know, have a more physical relationship, so to speak. So I do think it is very interesting that you can take a subject like this with very similar kind of setup in the beginning and end up going to like very different directions. I do think it's interesting, and maybe because of the fact that it came out in 24 and not 25, that people were comparing it so much to Megan instead of Companion. I guess because it is a little bit more, like some people are saying, an adult version of that. But I really enjoyed the film. It, you know, it does have some faults. I'd say I don't necessarily know if there's any point in which the film passes Bechdel test, especially between the character of Alice and Maggie, who is Nick's wife. You know, it is very interesting. I feel like that this film sets up to have Nick's wife still be alive, still be around, and be like part of the picture, because I feel like very often in a situation like this, you would have where she's like dead or you know, recently deceased, and that's when the robot comes in to take care. So I do love the fact that they had that play into it. And Maggie is also played by Madeline Zima, who some of you who are like in your 30s or above, I feel like will know her. She played Grace in The Nanny, which I was like, huh, because adore her. So that was just a fun little fact in there. But I, you know, for the faults that this movie has, I did really enjoy it, and I do think that it is a really good and interesting take on the potential future that we could have. And of course, if you're not new to the channel, you know, Megan Fox, love her in horror films, so of course I was gonna check this one out. I do feel like the runtime got a little long. It's not a super long film. It's still under 2 hours. I think it's like, with credits and everything, 145, and so not a super long runtime in today's day and age, but there were just times, especially towards the end, where it felt like the film was coming to a conclusion and then it didn't. I will say, because this is a spoiler review, it does end with a feeling like there could be potential for a sequel, which I wouldn't hate. I would definitely check it out. I do think that it is interesting, and I guess because it's like a Netflix original, I assume. I didn't see if it was necessarily that, and I'll look it up, I'll correct myself, but I did think it was interesting that given a film like Megan and Companion, that this one did not get a theatrical release, but maybe because of those two films, or at least because, like I said, this one came out in 2024 because of Megan, that it didn't want to feel the need to like compete in that department. So I definitely think it's a film that could have gotten a theatrical release, and it would have been really cool to see it on a big screen, but it's still enjoyable to watch at home, and it is a film that I highly recommend, especially if you enjoy this kind of like AI situation. I personally find the concept of AI terrifying, and I'm trying to keep as far away from it as possible, especially because in the beginning of this there is a scene where they go to look for the robots, and the setup reminded me very much of when I went to the Sear here in Vegas, and they had an AI setup. It wasn't as like realistic quite yet, but those robots were terrifying, and I was like, hell to the no, get me the fuck out of here. I was not vibing with that. So if you do want something terrifying and you find AI as terrifying as I do, and or you just love Megan Fox, highly recommend checking this one out. So if you have seen Subservience, let me know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. I hope that you did enjoy this review. If you did, please do give it a big old thumbs up, and make sure you hit the subscribe button for more spooky and horror related content, and I will see you all again later with another video. Bye!